When we think about powerful spiritual moments, we often picture mountaintops or glowing sanctuaries. But sometimes the greatest moments begin in rooms like this one. This space, traditionally identified as the upper room, has been revered for centuries. While the current building dates back to the Crusader period, archaeological evidence confirms that this site was part of an ancient Essene quarter, a section of 1st century Jerusalem known for Jewish piety and messianic expectation. In fact, many scholars believe that this area likely contained guest rooms that were used by pilgrims during the festivals, rooms just like the one Jesus may have used for the Last Supper, and where his followers gathered again after the Ascension. Think about that. Just outside these walls, Jerusalem was bustling with life, tension, and spiritual anticipation. But in this quiet room, the small band of Jesus' disciples gathered, not in fear, but in obedience. Luke tells us that after Jesus ascended the Mount of Olives, the disciples walked back into the city, just a Sabbath day journey away, about 2/3 of a mile. And where did they go? Here, to the upper room. It was likely familiar ground. It was probably the last place they had shared a meal with Jesus, and now it became the first place they prayed without him physically present. They didn't yet know what Pentecost would bring. They didn't have a plan or a timeline, but they had a promise, and they had each other. In Acts chapter 1, verses 12 through 26, we're reminded that obedience often looks like waiting and praying and trusting in God's unfolding story. The text tells us that 120 believers were gathered in this space. Men and women, disciples and family, all united in prayer. And in that sacred moment of dependence, Peter stood up not as the impulsive fisherman we once knew, but as a transformed leader. What he did next was bold. He addressed the unresolved betrayal of Judas. He opened the scripture. He led the group to seek God's guidance through prayer. And ultimately, they chose a new apostle, Matthias, to take up the baton. Why does this matter? Because the church's mission didn't wait until Pentecost. It started in the upper room, with courage, obedience, and prayerful preparation. This moment reminds us, before the Spirit comes in power, God often calls us to faithfulness in the quiet places. The upper room teaches us that leadership begins with surrender. Unity begins with humility, and mission begins with obedience. The gospel of Jesus is unstoppable, but that doesn't mean it's always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it begins in a room like this, with people like us, simply saying yes to God's next step.